Oh, good.
The show is all yours.
Oh dear.
We have about 500 people here this morning.
Awesome.
Now we probably have around 50, 60 people.
Hey, it's great to see everyone. Actually, I don't see you yet. I only see George, but it's still great to see everyone.
Yeah, it's winter here today. It's 60 degrees. And what's your temperature? He's talking to us from Minnesota.
I'm actually in Illinois.
You're Illinois. Okay.
Yes, it's currently 38 degrees and raining. This is a heat wave, by the way.
That's not bad, it's not freezing.
Okay,
Now,
Michael, it's all yours.
I was debating if I should put this on or not because you sent out my picture with the hat on. So, do people recognize me better with or without?
Would you like them with us? Yeah, they like you with the hat.
Oh, less reflection.
Less glare.
There we go. All right, so as George may have told you, oh, you know what? Getting a little feedback on this. Just a second.
Here, I think I can help that. I'm muting my end right now. I'm trying to.
That's all right. I can deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll deal with it. So I've been podcasting since 2006 with the Mac podcast, 2005 with a podcast that was actually a literary podcast called Coffee House to Go. And in 2015, I started a little conference up here in Illinois called MacStock. And that's something I'm spending a lot of time on and I really enjoy doing. And I have a little offer for all of you towards the end of my talk here. So I don't normally give presentations to groups. I enjoy giving presentations to groups. I have done it from time to time. And what I thought I'd do today is just talk about some of my favorite kind of tips and tricks from the Mac. These are things I like to point out to people when I'm sitting down at their computer with them and say, oh, did you know about this or did you know about that? And this is kind of my list of did you know about thises and know about that's. So they're in no particular order. I just thought I'd go down them, and some of these you may know, some of these you may not know. But what I'm going to do is switch over to my computer screen here, and let's just kind of go through them. And George said you guys like to ask questions as we go, so if you have any questions, just, well, I'm looking at George right now, so George is going to have to raise his hand and let me know that there's a question. All right. Let me switch over here and minimize you. Now, you know what? When I minimize you, I don't think I'm going to be able to see you. Oh, there you are. Okay, I can see you. Good. All right.
George, move the curve.
Wait a minute. Now my screen's not being shared anymore, is it?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, we can see you.
No, we're not seeing your shared screen.
Yeah, and yet
We're just seeing you.
on my side, I am seeing that I'm sharing the screen.
Well, we have it up
Let me
in the
try.
corner. See it in the corner?
Share
Yeah, down the
screen.
corner, George.
Oh, so we don't see his computer.
No, that I'm seeing myself and him.
Oh.
I'm still not seeing it. The screen is not being shown.
Oh.
On this. All right, let me, I'm going to exit it and go back in again. Give me 1 second. All right. Share screen. We're going to do the third time's a charm, right? Third time's a charm.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yay.
What was that?
All right.
Move the cursor to the side or something. He's going to.
Oh, I thought I did.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thanks. Thanks, Don.
Let's see. We may, now, do you see you in the corner? You may see you in the corner.
Yes. Yes, up on top. Yes.
I'll just, that's fine. Okay. All right. So one of my absolute all-time favorite features of macOS is Spotlight. I expect all of you to use Spotlight.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm about to do is not spotlight. This is my cursor highlighted, George?
Well, that's great, yes.
Okay. Now, this obviously is a spotlight, but it's not spotlight. Spotlight is this little guy up here in the corner, right? And when you click that, you get the spotlight search. Now, I access spotlight by hitting Command and the space bar, which is Command space, and that opens up spotlight. Now, one of the first things I run into with folks is when they hit Command space or they click the little magnifying glass in the top right corner, they don't realize that you can put this back where it belongs. If you guys remember a few years ago, Apple changed Spotlight so that it showed up here in the center of your screen, and it used to reside up here in the top right. Well, old folks like me like it up in the top right. And you can simply click and drag the Spotlight window up to the top right where it belongs. So every time I hit Command space now, it's going to pop up in the top right. Now, for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to just go ahead and move it back to the center again. All right, and let's just get that little guy out of the way here for now. But I'm going to keep it in the center so that you guys can see it better. So that's my first tip. Move the Spotlight window. Put it where it belongs. If you don't like it in the top right, you can put it up in the top left. You can put it in the bottom, the center, wherever you'd like. But it will remember that position and come back each and every time you launch it. Now, the main reason that I use Spotlight is not what you think. Spotlight was designed to help find things on your Mac. I use it to launch my applications. So if you use Launch Bar or any of the other application launchers, you may not need it because you can use Spotlight to launch applications. So if I wanted to launch something like TextEdit, I can start to type in what I want to launch and then hit the return key, and TextEdit launches. Likewise, I can go ahead and launch, let's see, what should we launch here? We'll launch Preview. And same thing, it goes ahead and launches that app, and that's what I use. Now, the other thing I do to get to my applications is I put the applications folder down here on my dock. And then I set it up as a grid view and as a folder so that I can get to all my applications that way. And then when I want them out of the way, I can just click to close that window. That's where I put my applications. And that's when I get to the apps that maybe I can't remember the name of. I know what it looks like, but I can't remember what it looks like, or can't remember the name. So I can't use Spotlight if I can't remember the name. But as long as I can remember the name, I usually use Spotlight. Now, the interesting thing about Spotlight is that, like Launch Bar and some of the other application launchers out there, you can actually search for apps using initials. So if I wanted to launch something like Microsoft Word, I could type in MW, and you see that Microsoft Word comes up. Wow. Sorry about that, I hit the mic. Yeah, if you guys could see how I'm reaching around the mic to get to my keyboard, you'd understand why I did that. Also, things like GarageBand, you can do GB. GarageBand comes up. Some apps it doesn't necessarily work with. You have to type in a little bit more to get to what you want because there aren't initials, but Final Cut Pro, FCP, Microsoft Word, let's see, Excel should work, Microsoft Excel. So anytime you can type in the initials for an app, oh, see, I got to do some cleanup. I just realized I have the old version on here too. You can use the initials to launch the application as well. So I use Spotlight as an application launcher, and if you want to be really quick, you can use initials. So I'm going to go into system preferences quite frequently throughout this talk, so I can do SP, and system preferences comes up.
So those work for everyone?
Now, obviously, I can type in the whole thing, SYX. Oh, yes, sir.
Got a question.
Yeah, that's not personal shortcuts. That would work for us, for everyone, right?
That is correct. That works for everyone.
Thank you.
Now, one of of the ways that Spotlight works is the more information you put in, the more precise your search is going to be. So if I did type in SYST, it's going to keep narrowing down until I get to the most precise results of that search. This is kind of interesting. Chop suey? What the heck? But this is what I use it for. I use it for application launching mostly. Then secondarily, I use it for finding documents on my Mac. And that's something that I'm sure most of you use Spotlight for. So I'm not going to go into covering Spotlight for searching for documents on your Mac. But some of the things that you can do with it that maybe you're not aware of is you can use it for things like calculations. So I can do 2 times 4, and it gives me the answer of 8. And you can get fancier. 2 times 6 plus 2 is 16. So you can enter formulas into Spotlight and get the answers back, just like you would if you were using calculator. So being able to use it for calculations is cool. Also, definitions. You can search for things like computer. And you'll see that down here is, under definition, the definition of computer. Elephant. Now that actually what is that? That's an audio file that's pulled up. But then it pulls up images and then definition right down there. Now one of the other cool things you can do with Spotlight is you can do currency conversions. So if I want to see how much the US dollar is worth in different currencies around the world, I can type in 12 USD. And it comes back and tells me it's worth 10.49 euros, 9.12 British pounds, 1,312 yen, etc., etc.
Wow.
But you can also reverse this and do EUR and come back with the opposite answer. So 12 euros is worth 13.73 US dollars. Now, a lot of times folks use what I call those one-trick pony apps. You go into the Mac App Store and you download a currency converter, or you download a calculator or a dictionary or something like that. And while they're great, and some of those applications have more features than what Spotlight can bring to the table, for just basic currency conversion or definitions and things like that, Spotlight is awesome. Now the other thing it can do, now you're starting to see, oh yes sir.
Got a question, another question.
When I just did that on computer, definitions did not come up. Is there a place you can tell Spotlight what to search for?
There is, and I'm going to cover that in just a moment. I knew what the temperature was down in Naples because of this next feature. Oops, not Maples, Naples.
Naples. Yeah.
There we go. Weather in Naples, Florida. Oh, you told me it was 60.
That's the high.
It is 60.
40.
And then it gives you a little forecast coming up for the next few days too, which is kind of nice. And then as far as the rest of the search results, you can go onto weather.com or AccuWeather. And then there's also Siri suggested websites down below as well. Let's see if I lied to you guys. See, we're up to 39. There you go. 39 and raining.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm hitting escape to exit out of some of these.
We have another question.
Okay.
What if you don't know the words, let's say, and you wanted to know the words that were connected around the lift of an airplane? How an airplane, in other words, and my sort of secondary question is, for instance, maybe you get that from Smithsonian. In other words, where does Spotlight get its information from? That's my second question. Can we know if we don't know the words about that would be connected with, you're dealing with the lift of an airplane, how does it fly?
The lift.
Aeronautics. You put in the word aeronautics, but you want the other words surrounding that if you're not versed in that information. information.
So Spotlight uses various sources out on the internet to give you results, and it generally tells you where that search result comes from. So when I typed in lift of airplane, it actually came back with a YouTube video, flybma.com, flight training, power curve, lift and drag explained in and out of airplane, and then it gives you the description of the video, and if I wanted to, I could go ahead and click on that. But then there's also other web videos, how do wings generate lift, and then I can come down here, documents, that's not useful. But it tells you where those results are coming from. So for example, if we go back to that weather in Lake in the Hills, this is actually coming from the weather app on the Mac. But then it tells you its source, weather.com. So yes, but some things, I have to say, some things you just want to go back out to Google again. But for many of your search results, you can actually get some pretty decent information, though it may not be exactly what you're looking for. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Temperature conversions?
Another question.
Yeah.
Is that similar to the search on the iOS?
It should be. It should be, but I don't know if it is. I don't know if they use the same sources and everything.
Do I see?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that, in other words.
Okay, no problem. Don?
Unrelated, but can you tell us the app that turns the circle on over your cursor?
Yes, I can. It's actually, George asked me to do this. And I went and looked at my Mac App Store and I realized I actually had an app to do this already. And the app is called Mouse Jose. And this is an older version of it. It's from Boink Software. Boinks makes some really excellent software. Now, I will tell you that the version I have was a pay once and use it forever version, or at least until macOS breaks it. But the current version is Mouse Jose 4, and it is subscription software.
George, asking it, is this a 64-bit application or 32 that's not going to work with the next OS?
It's a 64-bit or 32?
Let's find out. Well, let's see, where's the bitness?
Where's the fitness?
Kind, there we go. 32-bit. But I will guarantee that the current version 4 is 64-bit. And also there were several other apps out there at the Mac App Store that did the same type of thing. I just realized that I had this one, so I went ahead and used it.
Thank you.
And by the way, this Mac that I'm working on will never be able to run the next version of Mac OS, so I'm not too worried about it on this one. In fact, this Mac is stuck on High Sierra because, see, it's a 2011 MacBook Pro. So then to turn on that, that little spotlight feature, the highlight feature is the F1 key, turns it on. And then to turn on or off the keystroke is the F5 key, so that you can see what I'm typing if so, Mouse Jose. All right, couple more spotlight tips. Sound good to you guys, or do you want to move on?
We really appreciate you using that because that's one of the major problems we have with speakers is that we have no idea where their mouse is at any time.
It's really pretty cool because when it's turned on, if I click, you can see a little red dot.
Right.
And then if I right click, you see a little green dot.
Jerry, did you have that?
I use mouse locator and it is a 32-bit application and they are not doing an upgrade, so that's why I was interested in mouse Mosaic.
Yeah, Boink Software, they do a whole bunch of really awesome apps. This is just one of them. This is one of their minor apps, actually. And then if you guys want to see what's behind the curtain, I'm actually using an app called Desktop Curtain. And what Desktop Curtain does is it allows me to hide the junk on my desktop. So if I were to hit F11, you could see all the mess that's behind it.
So that's called desktop?
That's called Desktop Curtain, and that one is in the Mac App Store. And that's from Many Tricks.
Anybody in the room hasn't learned anything yet? You're batting 100% so far.
That's awesome. I don't hear that very often, George.
My wife tells me every day.
Bragging or complaining?
Okay, I have a question for you. Is she there?
No, she's out working.
Well, someone has to. I mean, look at me. I'm home giving a presentation. Who's working today? Okay, so here's another cool thing you can do with Spotlight. Temperature conversions. If I do 12F, it'll tell me that's not right. 12F. That's, oh yeah, no, that's right. 12 Fahrenheit. It is minus 11 centigrade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Freezing.
32F.
Should be zero.
Zero, right?
0, yeah. But look at it. It also tells you in kelvins.
Kelvin's, 273.
Do a minus 40.
So that's kind of cool. I can also do 32K and find out it's minus 402.07 degrees Fahrenheit. Yikes. So that's neat. So there's all these really cool things built into Spotlight that I think a lot of folks just don't realize is there. One of the other things you can do is you can look up contacts. There's George. Oh, and by the way, George, you'll see that down here, Fred and George's birthday, that's our cats. Okay. Natural language search. So this is a really amazing advanced feature of Spotlight, and someone asked about similar searches on iOS, and this ties into Siri. So if you were to do something like, let's say, photos from September 2016, there's the pictures that are dated September 2016. I take a lot of screenshots, apparently. Goodness. All right. Oh, hey, that was from Disney World.
Are those pictures coming from everywhere on your computer?
They are. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about Spotlight is it indexes everything on your Mac and pulls it all back again. So if you use a service like Dropbox or Google, what do they call it now? It's not Google Drive, it's Backup and Sync, Google Backup and Sync. If you use something like that, where what you are storing in the cloud is also stored on your local computer, that will get indexed as well. So, kind of slick. And that's something to play around with.
We have another question.
To follow up on yours, if you have more than one iPhoto library, does it search them all?
It should, yeah, it should. Because those libraries are accessible to the operating system.
Thank you.
It can't remember where it is.
Yes.
Will it search external hard drives?
Yes, it will. But here, let's go to that other question about restricting or adding to what Spotlight can do. So if we go into System Preferences and we go to Spotlight up here, this is the list of everything that Spotlight will return results from. Now, in a little sad note, it used to be that you could reorder all this. So if there were things down here further in the list, like definitions, and you wanted the results to come up towards the top, I could click and drag and put those up towards the top, and those definitions would come back first. Unfortunately, Apple changed that. So now you can no longer reorder these, but you can turn things off. So if I don't want my bookmarks and history to come up in search results, I can turn that off. If I don't want fonts to come back, or if I don't want, let's see what else is in here. Spotlight suggestions, spreadsheets, system preferences. If I don't want those kind of things to come up in the search results when I search within Spotlight, I can turn off different things that it knows about on my Mac. Now the privacy tab over here is if you want to tell Spotlight not to search a particular location. Now I don't have any drives connected to my Mac at the moment, but I could come in here and select a drive that's plugged in and add it to the list, and that drive won't be searched. Or I could specifically say, you know what? Don't ever search this exported calls folder. And now Spotlight will remove that from its index and no longer return results from that. So you could exclude a particular folder and all subfolders beneath it by adding it to this list of locations you don't want Spotlight to search.
I think we had another question back there.
Can it translate, say, English to Dutch and Dutch to English?
Translations.
Translations.
I didn't hear the question.
Language translation.
Language
translation.
Language translation.
Let's see. No. Oh. No.
I can answer telephone.
Oh, boy.
You know it can though? Let's see. There is a translator in Dashboard. Isn't there? There used to be. I don't see it now. Well, I'll tell you what else can do that. Google.
Or Bing.
There you go. And the gentleman was correct. Let's see, I don't think sound will come through, but you can actually listen to it too. Now, by the way, a lot of these things that we're doing with Spotlight, you can do in Google as well. So if I wanted to do something like weather in Naples, I'll get the results back in Google too. So one of the neat things about Google is that you can track packages as well. So if you have a package tracking number and you paste it in there, you don't need any other information. If it's a FedEx tracking number and you paste it in, Google recognizes that it's a FedEx tracking number and says, would you like to track this on FedEx? And you say, yes, I would. And then it comes back and gives you all the tracking information. So that's one of the cool things about it. I do not know offhand, and maybe someone else does, if you can do package tracking in Spotlight. If you can't, I would not be surprised if Apple doesn't add it later.
Carl?
Yes, there's a way to find all your photos on a computer,
All
no matter what kind of file it is.
Can you, oh, in using Spotlight or just in
Spotlight.
general?
Spotlight.
Well, Spotlight does depend on information in the files themselves. So for example, when I said, show me all the photos from September 2016, it was using the EXIF data, the data that the camera embedded in the image, to say that those were taken in September 2016 and allowed me to return that result. Let's see here. Well, that's going to launch the app. That's a good question. I don't think it is, because it's going to, well, if I spell it right, it helps, but it's, now let's see, how about this? This isn't going to be any kind. But it should return, it returns some images and a nice definition of JPEG. No, but one of the other things I'm going to talk about does. All right, that's everything on Spotlight.
Great.
Everything I've noted about Spotlight. Anyway, that's not everything Spotlight can do. And it's one of those Google searches you're going to want to do yourself. Cool things Spotlight can do. And you will be amazed at everything that it can accomplish for you. These are just the things that I use. All right, let's move on from Spotlight for a second, because there's a couple other things, and I know George told me I had 45 minutes. I don't know what time you guys get out of your meeting, but I wanted to show you a couple other cool things here. And one of those is text snippets. So that's T-E-X-T, text snippet. And I use this a lot. So if I place an order online, or if there's information on a web page I want to capture, I can save that information as a text snippet. So using this website here, let's see, who is this place? Oh, it's you. All right. Well, let's say I wanted to take this information, this wonderful quote right here, and save it. I can highlight it, and then I can click and drag, and I'm going to just drag it over to this folder here that I set up for you guys. And when I let go, it's going to create a text snippet of that information I highlighted and dragged out to this folder. Now, usually I drag it out to my desktop, but you guys saw my desktop, so I'm not going to show that to you. But in this case, I drag it out to this folder, and when I quick look that, you can see it's that quote that I highlighted and dragged out. So this is a text snippet, and if I open this, I can then, I can't edit it in this viewer, but I can copy this information and I can bring it into something else where I do want to work with it. So text snippets are great. I can take more information if I want to, drag it out here, and now I've got a larger text snippet. Now, those are text snippets, not image snippets. But you can do something similar with photos. If I want to take this picture and save it, I can click and drag it out to the folder as well. And then I've got that photo from your website too. Now, some websites will put blocks up in front of that, and there are different ways to get around that, but in general, you can drag pictures out of a website and you can drag text out of a website, but you can also create text snippets from other documents too. So if I have this demo text folder, all this text also came from your website, by the way, I can take this paragraph and drag it out, and I've got a text snippet of just that paragraph. So text snippets are pretty cool, and it's something that I use all the time on my Mac, and I particularly use it when I'm saving information from a website, but you can use it with other documents too.
We have a question.
Can you take a text snippet, forward it to mail, and edit it there?
Yeah, you can do that. Let's see. I don't have mail. Well, do I have mail set up on here? I don't know if I do. I suppose I should use Spotlight to launch it, huh? So can I compose a message and take text from here? Yeah, that would be like copying and pasting, really. It's not creating a text snippet, but you can drag and drop into a message. That would be the equivalent of copy and paste. Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I could take a text snippet that I created and attach it to the message. Look what it did. Apple Mail was smart enough. You can tell I don't do this all the time. Apple Mail was smart enough to take this text snippet and insert it into the message as text. Look at that. It inserted as an attachment. Very cool. See, there's my one thing I wanted to learn today.
We had another question. Yes.
Yeah.
Can you take a text photo and put it into that? A photo you received in a text message. You move that into this.
Wait a minute. You're saying, can you take a photo from a text message
Yes.
and move it into where?
Into that. What's that?
Into the mail?
Into his box there.
I mean, the email.
No, it's not an email, it's a text message with a photo in it.
No character.
Yeah. So if I try to if I try to highlight all this and take a snippet of it, you'll see what happens is it lops out the image, because these are just for text. But there's nothing stopping me from copying this and then pasting it into something else, like a Pages document or mail or something. I don't know if that answered your question.
Did that answer your question?
Not really. That's okay.
Question.
Where was you?
Maybe I didn't understand it.
Yeah. Did you want to ask it differently?
Character recognition, would there be character recognition? And editable, I think it's the question whether it's editable or not.
Did you hear what he said?
Yeah, is the text snippet editable, right? The text snippet viewer, if you will, you can't edit in here. So I can't edit inside this little snippet here, but I can take what I've snipped and I can copy it and put it into some other document where I can edit it.
But not if it's a picture.
And what about if it's a picture?
Pictures you could edit in preview or yeah. So the picture is not really a snippet. It's just a picture. So whatever you can open, edit that in preview or Affinity Photo or what have you, you can edit it.
Sally?
Curious, we're not talking about a picture that's on text on a phone that you could email to yourself and then copy later and put in a text. This is another feature, that's separate from that type of action, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Sylvan?
I often get email with the font, it's probably no bigger than 10 point. How can I enlarge that print? I've tried using Command Plus. It doesn't work. Someone told me I could do that. What's the best way to enlarge an email that comes in with very small fonts?
Did you get that question?
So if you receive an email message and you want to be able to
increase the
read it better,
Right.
fonts?
Well, Apple likes to send stuff out with small fonts. Let's see here. Yeah, this is an HTML message, so that's not a good example, is it? So if I want to enlarge this, I don't use mail all the time, so you bear with me here for a moment.
You select all.
If you select it,
If you select it all, would you have the ability to enlarge it?
I don't think so, because this is the way the message was sent to you. So they're most likely, most mail clients are composing in HTML now. So the person who crafted the message is kind of in charge of how large they want it to appear when you receive it.
Yes.
Just an answer to you, when I have that problem, I hit as if I'm going to return or forward.
Oh, there we go.
Then it's mine, and then I can change the fate. Then I can just
Oh.
hit Command plus. Okay?
So what did you just say again?
So what I would do in this case is I would hit forward, creating a forward message, highlight what you want larger, and hit Command plus.
After changing the criteria.
he's doing it.
Yeah, you're doing it right now.
So here's this works. All right. So if you're browsing the web and you want to make a web page larger or smaller, you can hit Command plus and Command minus. And then Command 0 restores it to the normal size. Apple Mail respects that. And so if it's an HTML message, I can hit Command minus to shrink it or Command plus to enlarge it. Now that doesn't affect the message itself, it just affects how you're viewing that message. Ooh, $2 off Panera Bread. Same thing. I can Command minus and Command plus and enlarge that message. So that's actually a good thing. So Apple Mail does respect those commands from the browser and allows you to use those same commands within Apple Mail itself. So that should work. Now I don't know if that's going to work with a plain text message. As you can see, I don't really use this account, so I don't have anything that's a plain text message in here. I mostly just have the messages from Apple, but it's worth a try. If it's a plain text, try hitting Command plus and Command minus and see if it allows you to zoom in. Oh, this is a cool one. All right, so that's why I created this demo text right here. There is a neat feature buried in Mac OS that allows you to summarize text. Now, if you have ever tried to summarize text yourself, you know it's a lot of work. I have all these paragraphs here, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs of text, and I want to reduce that down to something that still kind of gives you the same gist of the message, but is shorter, less to read. Well, there's a neat feature it's a service actually, in Mac OS called Summarize. Now, you can see it's not on right at the moment. Oh, no, wait a minute, let me try it again. Let me highlight some text first. There it is. Okay, so if you highlight text, if I highlight all the text in this document, and mute this call that's coming in. If I highlight all the text in that document, and I go up to the text edit menu, services, and then summarize, it opens up another window that allows me to adjust the size of what I'm seeing here based on sentences. So in other words, it looks at the sentences in the document. There's the original. And it summarizes it down to a shorter version of itself, or I can summarize by paragraphs. Just by adjusting this right and left. And then when I get to what I want, I can copy it and I can paste it into something else. Now, summarize has to be turned on. It used to be on by default, I believe, but I've noticed in recent iterations of macOS that you actually have to go turn it on. And where you turn on the summarize feature is in System Preferences. So I'm going to go back to System Preferences here. And it is under, here, let me turn this on again. It's under Keyboard, Shortcuts, Services, and then you see services are broken down by pictures, internet, messaging, files and folders. I'm just clicking the little disclosure triangles to close these so I don't have to scroll through them all. Searching, and then text. Here's text. And down here, and you can see that there's different services that have been added by apps on my Mac. Evernote added an add to Evernote service. There's an add to iTunes, a spoken track. There's some BB Edit services in here. But one that comes with the Mac is called Summarize. And if you turn on Summarize, when you have text highlighted, and I could do it with just a single paragraph, by the way, you can go to the Services menu, Summarize, and you can see all the other services that are installed on my Mac, and that highlighted text can have actions applied toward it. But I can go to Summarize, and then I can say, well, let's shorten that down to just kind of that core gist of the message. Now, is it perfect? Well, it's probably not perfect, but I've used this in a lot of instances where I have lots and lots of text and I need to kind of bring it down to something that's more to the point, and Summarize is an excellent feature to do that.
I sometimes
Nope, no save it. Okay.
I sometimes try to do that with my wife. I got 5 minutes and not an hour. Can you summarize it?
That's another reason she isn't here.
But she's not here today. She
I understand you're recording this, so I'm going to just stay silent on that one.
Yeah, I have to check to make sure she's home when I get home.
I thought she was at work. Well, you do her.
Well, I get home after her work.
But we'll tell her to watch the replay.
Okay, while I'm in this demo text, let me just show you another neat feature.
We have one more.
Oh, question?
Yeah.
What other apps does Summarize work in?
You know, there are some apps it doesn't work with. I've found that it does not work very well in Microsoft Word. That's kind of a Microsoft thing.
What'd you say, Marilyn?
Pages.
Pages or notes?
Pages or notes?
Notes. Well, this is text edit. Now let's see. It should work in Pages.
How much?
$1,000.
There we are. So yes, it does work in Pages. Generally, if it's an app from Apple, you can be pretty sure it's going to work. Other apps need to kind of respect the macOS ecosystem and understand that those services exist and allow you to kind of tie into them. But as long as the app ties into those services, it should work with it. So there's another neat feature I'm going to just show you real quick here, since I'm in this document. You can actually look up stuff on the fly. So if I wanted to look up headquarters, there's the definition of headquarters right there in that document. Now the way that worked is I had my cursor in the word, and the cursor is kind of pointing at that word actually, and I press Command, Control, D. Now you see that there are other features down here. Siri Knowledge, iTunes Store, web videos, Lego Ghostbusters, cool, movies, and that's it. But to me, the most useful thing is dictionary, because not only does it return the definition, but it also returns thesaurus entries. And I use thesaurus a lot. So that's kind of neat. Now, as I was playing around with this, I realized that I don't really need to click in the word. You just kind of need to point to it. As long as the cursor is pointed to the word, you can press Command-Control-D and get that definition.
We have another question.
And how did you get the other choices other than definition?
All this is all automatic. There isn't really any control over this.
So in addition to dictionary, the others showed up just by hitting the Command D?
Yeah, Command-Control-D.
E or D? B.
D.
D for
D like
D
David.
is
D is dictionary.
D is in David, like that. So I got it on screen there for a moment. All right. How are we doing on time, George?
We're okay.
Okay. We talked about finding photos and things like that. There's a neat feature of the Mac called Smart Folders. So in this folder right here called Test Files, I put a bunch of pictures from a Route 66 trip my daughter and I took. Okay. So what if I wanted to... Oh, you know what? Let me go to Smart Folders first. Okay. I said Smart Folders, so let's do Smart Folders. And then I'll show you something with those. So let's say I wanted to create a folder that gathers all the pictures that are from, or that are named Route 66 together into a single folder. All right. That's my task here. I have a task in mind. I want to take all the pictures that have Route 66 in the name and put them together in one place. And then anytime I add a new picture to my Mac that has Route 66 in the name, it'll show up in that Smart Folder. That's the beauty about Smart Folders, is the contents of the folder changes based on search results from the Mac. So what I'm going to do is within our Naples Mug test folder here, I'm going to go to File, New Smart Folder. All right, and what happens is we get a search window. And what I'm going to do here is I can decide whether I want to search just the Naples Mug folder or if I want to search the entire Mac. For purposes of this demo, I'm going to say just search the Naples Mug folder. I'm going to click plus over here, and I'm going to say kind is an image. Oh, okay, now we already get results, right? We've got results because we have a folder in the Naples Mug folder that has images in it. So this is kind of giving us a preview of what the Smart Folder will contain. Now I'm going to click plus again, and I'm going to say where the name contains Route 66. Oh, everything disappeared. Well, everything disappeared because those images no longer match my search criteria. But as soon as something does match the search criteria, it'll show up in that folder. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And we are going to save it in the Naples Mug folder. And I'm going to call it Route 66 Pics. I'm not going to add it to my sidebar, but you can. You can have a Smart Folder show up over here in the sidebar so that anytime you want to get to all those pictures that have Route 66 in the name, you can just click that folder in the sidebar and there they are. But in this particular case, I'm not going to add it to the sidebar. I'm going to save it into this Naples mug folder, and I'm going to name it Route 66 Pics and click Save. All right. So there we are. And you see there's the smart folder. Right there. Double click it, nothing in it. All right. Now, if I take an image, let's just take this one that we used earlier. Let's put Route 66 at the name in the beginning of that. It should, all right, fingers crossed.
Should be there now.
Haha, there it is. It shows up in that folder because it has Route 66 in the name, which was my search criteria. Now I can go to the gear up here in the top, and I can say show search criteria, and I can change it if I want to. But anytime the name contains Route 66, and it doesn't have to have the space, I just happen to put a space in this particular name, but anytime that RT66 appears in it, it'll show up in that smart folder. Now obviously, what you put into the smart folder, the search criteria that you use, is going to vary quite a lot. You can search by last open date, last modified date, created, name, content, system files, applications, archives, documents, executables, folders, images, movies, blah, 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 all the way down. And then you can get more granular. I can say I only want JPEGs. Now this goes back to the other question. If you can set up a folder that brings all the pictures on your Mac together into one place, yes, you can with smart folders. So you could set up a smart folder that kind is image of all, save it somewhere on your desktop or the Finder, and that's all your pictures are going to be there.
Carl?
Does that mean that, does that actually copy the picture, or is it a pointer through the pictures?
It's a pointer. Yep, it's simply, think of it as just search results, but search results that you can access anytime you open that folder. And then the beauty of it is that they continually update. So anytime you add more pictures to your Mac, that folder is going to update because you said, I want this folder to give me all images. And then in your particular case, you would set it to this Mac versus a particular location. But back to an example, yes, if it has 66 in the name. Oh,
Well,
question.
just as an example, for instance, if we scan multiple photos from our family for genealogy, you separate by name, surname, etc., that could be utilized, then you wouldn't have to sit there
Right.
and search them individually yourself. You could use this search engine to find them, make another folder, have only Faust in one folder, have only Carl Faust under that folder. You can make all that. That's what it's doing it a different way.
That would be an absolutely great use for this. Now, I didn't even talk about these little guys over here, tags. You can do similar things with tags. Honestly, I don't use tags, but we had an amazing talk about the use of tags at MacStock last year, and it got me thinking maybe I should start using them. But I don't use them at this time, and I do use smart folders, and I find them very useful. Now, let me go back, and this may actually help you. Let me turn off that little spotlight there. With your genealogy question, so I have this folder of test files here, and these are the original names. Now, one of the other neat things that you can do with the Mac is you can rename multiple files at once. So I have all these files together in this folder, and I want to rename them. So I'm gonna select them all. I'm gonna right-click and go down to rename 8 items.
Yes.
Now this is really powerful. I can tell it if I want to add text, if I want to replace text, or I can come up with a completely new format for the file names. So, for example, if I came up with a completely new file format, I could say I want the name format to be a name and a counter, So there I have RT66 underscore, and then a counter that starts at 1. And you see right here, it'll say, okay, your files are going to be called RT66 underscore 00001.jpg. And then I can tell it where I want that to go. If I want it to go at the beginning, or if I want it to go after. Now, obviously, my little underscore wouldn't necessarily work very well if I put it at the beginning, but you can go then and change your custom format of it. You can also do name and date. Now, that's not going to keep the date of the original file. That's going to put today's date on it. So Route 66 underscore 2019 320 at time. I don't want that. That doesn't help me. I want to keep the original date on these files. So what I'm going to do, even though I could put a counter on them, I could index them, I could put name and date on them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add text, Route 66, before the name of the file. Click rename. Okay, they all now have Route 66 at the beginning. This could just as easily be a surname. It could be a particular family member's name. But now when I go to my Smart folder,
I want to make sure you talk about MacStock before everybody leaves.
gotcha.
So you might want to start like right now.
Do you have another hour?
No, right now. Oh, I see.
Oh man, so many more cool things that I guess I am going to have to come back because there's so many other cool things that I'd love to cover with you guys.
Yeah. Will you come back?
If you will have me.
Yes. We'll see you next week.
All right. So I'll tell you, we got to about half of my list here. Okay, so you want me back? Here I am, I'm back. Okay, so you know what? I am going to switch back to my screen one more time though. All right, here's why. Okay, MacStock. All right, so I don't know how much or how little George told you about this. We had a wonderful conversation 2 weeks ago, and he very graciously allowed me to chew off his ear for an hour about MacStock, and told me about all the wonderful things that you guys have planned for the Naples Mac Friends user group as well. And I think it's just amazing that you guys are I hope I'm not giving away any secrets here, but you're talking about maybe doing a small conference of your own down there, and then inviting other user groups and things like that. And I just think that's awesome that you're planning to do that. And that's actually kind of where MacStock started. So I mentioned I started podcasting in 2006. I had the idea for MacStock in 2009. And quite honestly, the whole reason I wanted to have it was because I wanted to bring the listeners of my show together. I really just thought it would be regional. I thought it would just be a few people from the area coming out and joining me who happened to listen to my podcast. And that was the original concept of MacStock. And in 2015, when Macworld went away, a friend of mine, Barry, said, you know what, I really still want to see all the same friends that I'll switch back. So just so you know, it's MacStock. You could just type in MacStock2019.com and it'll take you to this page. MacStock2019.com will take you there. The full and proper name on its birth certificate is MacStockConferenceandExpo.com, but MacStock2019.com will get you there. All right, now, stop sharing. I'm back. So in 2015, when Barry said, I still want to see all my friends from Macworld, he said, I'm going to throw a barbecue in my backyard. I said, really? And he started inviting people to his backyard. He ended up with 100 people who were coming to his backyard. The man is insane. And I said, just make sure you invite all your neighbors. Really, that's the key, is make sure they're coming, because you can't have 100 people in your backyard and not invite them. But it turned out, when I looked at the list of people that he invited, that there were some pretty decent names on there for potential presenters. And I said, this idea that I talked to you about a couple of years ago, Barry, MaxDoc, why don't we try it? And for what it's worth, within 6-8 weeks, we had thrown the whole thing together, and in June 2015, we had the first MaxDoc. And when the day, it was a single day event, when the day ended, and people started coming up to me and said, when is next year's? I said, first, let me get through today. And then two, I'll get back to you on that. And so we've had it every year since, and this year is going to be the 5th one. I'm super proud of the conference. I'm super proud of everyone who takes part in it. And we have just an amazing group of people who present every year. We're going to have 10 speakers this year. And MaxDoc last year was themed to productivity. This year MaxDoc is themed to create. And it does not mean that it's just about the fine arts or just about writing or something like that. I've actually tasked presenters with coming up with new and creative and innovative ways to use Apple hardware and software to be creative with it. And that's where the theme came from for this year. So it's a fun weekend. It's two full days. And not only do we have all the talks, every speaker has a 20-minute talk in the morning, so you can kind of get a taste for what their presentation is going to be about, and then they give a longer, deeper dive in the afternoon. That's broken up by lunch, provided by the conference. But then also, we have some really cool things in the evening. So Mac Power Users, I don't know if any of you listen to Mac Power Users podcast, that Katie Floyd is actually from your state there. But Mac Power Users they're going to have episode 500 live from the MaxDoc stage this year, which I think is pretty darn cool. And then we're also doing something called the MaxDoc Short Film Festival this year, which is going to be a lot of fun too. So every year we try to come up with something new, something different, and something to keep it interesting to people who come back year after year. And one of the most exciting things about it is that it's not just locals, it's not just people from the Chicagoland area. We have people from, in fact, one of my speakers is from Austria. We have people coming in from the UK, from Canada, from the Netherlands, and then, of course, all over the US. So there's folks coming up from Florida, from California, and then every place in between. So it's really a fun weekend. It's a great opportunity to meet other users. It is an end user conference. It's not a professional conference. It's for people who use the Apple hardware and software. And that comes from my love of sharing knowledge, sharing information, and making sure that when people leave MaxDoc or they're done listening to an episode of my podcast, that they feel like they've learned something new. And that it's very much on my side of things running it. It's a family event. My wife and my daughter are both involved with it. My dad is involved with it as well. Sometimes involuntarily they're involved with it. But we have a lot of fun putting it on, and just a lot of great people coming out to it. And George indicated that he might want to come out to it, and I'm hoping that some of you folks might want to come out to it too. So what I put together, I'll let you go to the website and read a little bit more about it if you'd like. You'll find, I think Chuck Joyner is presented for you guys, right, George?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Okay, Chuck is one of those amazing volunteers with MaxDoc every year. He does the Mac Voices podcast, and every year he puts on a little series called The Road to MaxDoc, where he brings the speakers onto his show and he interviews them and talks about what they're going to be presenting this year, but then also kind of gets a little in depth with who they are and what they're all about. And that's kind of a fun way to get to know the people who are going to be presenting at MaxDoc. But it's just a fun weekend. And right now there's an early bird ticket sale going on, but I set up a coupon code for you guys so that you can save an additional $20 off the early bird ticket price. So if anyone would like to take advantage of that, I've shared the code with George via email. I know this is going out via YouTube, so I didn't want to give it out on the video, but George has the code. If you have not seen the email yet, George, it should be in your inbox by now.
Yeah,
And it'll save you an additional $20 off that early bird price.
Well, Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
We have another question.
How do you subscribe to his podcasts, or where are his podcasts?
Your podcast, how do you subscribe?
My podcast. MacStock and my podcast is called For Mac Eyes Only. And I will just forewarn you that with MacStock becoming a larger part of what I do as far as my involvement with the Apple community, the podcast is not put out as frequently as I would like it to be put out. But we do try to put out regular episodes every few weeks. And it is at formaceyesonly.com.
If you could send me the whatever on that, I'll give it out.
Yeah, I'll send you the, I just put it up on my screen like you guys can see it. You can't. So, but yeah, I'll send you the link and you'll have that too then, George.
All right, Mike, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, you guys too.
Thank you.